Oh my God.
Okay. Just one sec. We're waiting for Arul, sir. Okay, cool.
Ma'am.
Yeah, I can see it. Okay.
Madam, Linto has to allow her in, I think. Kavya.
Yeah, I'm getting on that. One sec. Kavya, are you here yet? Padrinto, can you please get Kavya in? I can't see what is. Okay. Okay. Okay, I think we can begin. Christine, you're on.
Yes, ma'am. I'll start.
Yeah.
Good evening to everyone present here. We welcome you, Arulmani sir, to address the gathering.
Greetings from the suburb of Banaswadi, where I seem to have been cut off from access to my camera, and I'm thus reduced to being a somewhat disembodied voice. Every year we hold this small installation ceremony called the Mixer, where students from our various combinations come together to find out what the activities of the year are going to be from our various associations. This is how we would do it every year. We'd have a day called Mixer Day, and we'd usually put Anquina's face on the poster with a bunch of balloons or some such thing. Anquina is the student who has this gift for looking happy in all sorts of unlikely situations. And so she became our poster girl. And for many years now, 5 years, I think, she's been on every Mixer poster, right? Advertising the joys of the associations of the English department. This would happen in June because that's when we would reopen. By this time in August, we'll all be recovering from having done various activities such as Meta Schools and Metonym and the quiz clubs, outreach programs, and the preparations for intramural. Our theatre fest would have begun at around this time in August, right? But this is a different year, a different set of circumstances, and so it's been a slightly slower beginning, but it's a beginning nevertheless. It's going to be a longer semester this time, and our associations are prepared to make their contribution to student life this semester. I was talking many years ago to a student of St. Joseph's College, a former student, an alumnus, who had sort of gone on to become a scientist, researcher at the Indian Institute of Science. And he remembered St. Joseph's College very fondly and the English department even more fondly. And he said there was just one association in those days, an association called LADS for some reason, the Literary and Debating Society. And he said he made many friends there, and these were friends whose acquaintance he treasured and kept in touch with for the rest of his life. And he said casual conversations there turned him in the direction of music he wouldn't have otherwise listened to, films he wouldn't have otherwise watched, and books that he would otherwise have never heard of, right? And he said what he valued most in St. Joseph's College was not just the education he got there, but the many, many, many conversations he had with people from diverse backgrounds. He said each of those conversations started something in his head and left the inside of his head richer than it was when he first came into college. So it's from that conversation that we draw inspiration every year as we look at our associations and look at our students who turn up in large numbers to be volunteers and office bearers, right? And when they bring their imagination to bear on the job of how do we make this bland year that stretches in front of us a year when the college can once more become a college, right? Once more become a group of people bound together by ties of conversation, affection, friendship, and most importantly, the effort of doing things together and discovering that great things are possible when you do things together. That's the spirit in which we come to our associations, to our mixer every year. The English department does not make its programs compulsory for students, unlike many departments and colleges across the country where everything is compulsory in the name of something known as the holistic development of your personality, right? The only things we make compulsory are the mixer, the inaugural, and the valedictory, right? The inaugural, because otherwise you will never have this feeling of, figuring out exactly how many students make up the multitudes that study with the English department in some form or the other. So it's good to look around you and see how many people there are. Normally, this would happen in Xavier Hall, and Xavier Hall would be like one huge steaming sauna by this time, right? Virtually, you can only see 5 or 6 other windows, but multiply those windows many times, and you will get an idea of the sea of humanity that makes up the English department's family. We also make the valedictory compulsory because, in case you missed out on some of the activities, you can feel sad and feel inspired to come back next year and do a better job of attending them. So that's why today's inauguration is compulsory. We have more than 14 programs lined up as part of Mixer Week. So what was Mixer Day has now become Mixer Week with lots of little things happening. Associations will show you some of the work they do, demonstrate events that they hold, invite your participation and your membership, right? We'll talk about that over the next few days. I also want to just quickly draw upon the times we are in. right? The pandemic has changed many things, but it doesn't need to change the ways in which we find affiliation with each other, right? That has to be something much stronger than a mere virus to overthrow. It'll take something much stronger than a virus to definitely overthrow, right? We also live in troubled times when the idea of free discussion, when the idea of learning without boundaries, when the idea of being able to ask questions, being able to challenge authority, all these things are increasingly coming under the scanner, are increasingly, where the space available for these things is increasingly compromised, right? In such times, it's necessary that we work with more than usual vigor to ensure that these safe spaces are held free and continue to do their work of enabling people to be free. Many years ago, nearly 400 years ago, the British poet Richard Lovelace wrote a stanza that we ought to remember today. He said, "Stone walls do not a prison, nor iron bars a cage. For the mind innocent and pure, these make nothing more nothing more than an hermitage," right? So this is the opportunity that we are given both by the pandemic and by the current political scenario, right? Let us respond to repression. Let us respond to this curtailing of the imagination that we see everywhere around us with a broadening of our own imaginations, of our own horizons. Thank you very much for coming here in such large numbers, right? Let's wish each other a super 2020 with or without the pandemic. Thank you very much.
Now we have a small video presented by Kavya Sunil, which will walk us through the memories we created last year.
So you're live right now. So Christine will. Christine, the video is over.
Oh.
Now I welcome.
Sorry.
Just one sec, sir. Christine will get back to you.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yes.
Now I welcome our former conveners to give their parting speeches. I request Priscilla, Angel, and Nikita to go ahead.
Just for the others who are uh, watching this, the freshers who are watching this, Priscilla is our convener for the Literary Society of last year. Angel is also the convener of the Literary Society for last year, and Nikita Thomas was the convener of the Quiz Club. So we have with us your super seniors today to give you parting words. So let's welcome Angel, Priscilla, and Nikita Thomas. You guys are online now.
Hi everyone. Good evening. So nice to be a part of this mixer again for a wonderful year ahead. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate all the newly appointed office bearers. Hope you'll have an amazing year ahead. Also, I would like to share a small experience from my past year as the office bearer. It has been such a wonderful year. There is so many things we've learned. There are so many memories we've made, and I feel there's so much one can learn by being a part of the literary society. This is a platform that is created for you where you can come and show your talents and use all the skills that you have, and in a very creative way. And I and i think that this is a wonderful opportunity for the students of our college to come and experience and experiment with their skills, be it in performance, writing, or speaking. And this is also a place where you get to make a lot of friends, know a lot of people, meet a new people, and also you get to know your teachers better. So I wish you'll come and take part and have healthy competitions and fighting. Yeah.
Thank you, Priscilla. Angel or Nikita, whoever wants to go next.
Okay, so I will, if you ask, I obviously congrats to all the new office bearers and all the new kids who are joining the associations. And I just, since we don't have a lot of time, I just wanted to tell you what it was like being a part of the quiz club. So initially, when I joined, it was just like any other club, be it Lit Society, Nows, the Quiz Club, whatever. But at the end of 3 years, I promise you that these associations become places where you feel like you actually belong. And one of the most interesting things that these associations do for you is that when things get chaotic around you and you feel like you have things to say, these spaces give you permission to say whatever you want to say in very creative, sometimes very sneaky and funny ways. And I hope that all of you make use of this opportunity, and I hope that all of y'all have great fun in whichever associations you take part in. Over to you, Angel.
Good evening, everyone. When I was asked to talk today, I was very reluctant because I said, I'm not ready to say goodbye yet. But then I realized one thing, you don't ever really leave home, right? So that is what it is for me now. Literary Society, when I joined, was only another association. But in my 3 years with the society, it has become home. It has become a place where I found family, where, just like Nikita said, a place where I belong. So I think it's a great opportunity that all of you have, and it's a very safe space and a very accommodating space in the sense that if you might think an idea is crazy, but it will come to life in literary society. Like you can look at some of the bottles that lie around in the department and think, let's have a bottle drive. And it'll happen. So that is how accommodating the literary society has been and the department. And all I have to say to the new team is congratulations. This is going to be a wonderful journey. And for all the freshers, take part. Initially, it might feel like, it's not that great or anything, but like once you start taking part, once you start volunteering, and once you become an active participant of it, you'll not want to leave. You'll be so reluctant to say goodbyes. So take part, have lots of fun, and all the best to the new team. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful time with Literary Society and with all the associations and with the English department. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla, Angel, and Nikita, for your wonderful words. We're going to miss you for sure. Now I request the conveners to introduce their associations. First will be Quiz Club. I request Saisham and Shreya to take over.
Hello everyone, my name is Shreya Mandal and I'm from third year BSc CZBT and I'm the convener of the Quiz Club.
Hello everyone, I'm Saisham Shrikant from third year BA EJP and I'm the co-convener of the Quiz Club.
So as Nikita shared her favorite parts of the Quiz Club, I'd like to share my favorite part of the Quiz Club. My favorite part is definitely the type of questions we have here. When you read the clues and then you sort of connect the dots, it's like one of those detective boards you see in movies. You connect little threads, and all the useless information you thought in your brain eventually sort of spells out the correct answer. For you newcomers to experience this, we have the Freshers Quiz tomorrow. Legends say that anyone who wins the Freshers Quiz gets to give this speech in the future.
The other event that we have scheduled for this week is the Women's Quiz on Saturday. The Women's Quiz gives all of you the unique chance to take part not only against your peers, but also against your own professors and other members of staff. To paraphrase, a, to paraphrase someone else, quizzing will be the real winner at the end of the day.
Somehow, the women's quiz also has the biggest audience, strangely. Other than the women's quiz and the freshers quiz, we also have several themed quizzes throughout the year, like the fandom quiz Fandemonium and the food Anna food quiz Bow Wow.
In addition to these themed quizzes, we will also have workshops through the year on topics such as cryptic crosswords. And in association with the Karnataka Quiz Association, we will hold our fortnightly public event, Push-Ups and Open House. Above and beyond all this, of course, we have our informal weekly meeting where you come, share facts, ask questions, and crack jokes also. Now, if you join the quiz club, people may wonder if you're preparing for the IAS or if you're even preparing to go on Kaun Banega Crorepati. Well, I can't say either of those things will happen, but you'll have fun for sure and you'll learn something new every day. So join the quiz club. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at SJC Quizzes. Thank you.
Thank you, Saisham and Shreya. Up next will be performing arts. I welcome Sarang and Fatima to take over.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Performing Arts Society. I am Sarang Jayaraj from 3rd CP, and I'll be one of the conveners of Performing Arts for this academic year. Now, what is the Performing Arts? Here, we provide you a stage to let out your artistic expressions, like just let it loose. A platform for everyone to express themselves on stage, an opportunity for you to showcase and hone your skills on theatre, arts, elocutions, dramas, and much, much more. If you've ever felt that you belong on the stage and that you have missed out a chance on drama school, here's your second chance. Our events include Jam Jar, which basically expands to just a minute. This is basically a treat for anyone who can never, what do you say, just not shut up, who've been told 1,000 times to just shut up. But here, speaking too much is really a virtue. As here, you'll have to speak on a topic that is chosen by a moderator for a minute, and you will have to keep on talking without being interrupted by other participants, as well as to keep on checking your errors in punctuations, repetitions, etc. Some of the other events which we conduct are elocutions, mimes, stage dramas, as well as play readings. We also conduct intra-college theatre fest, known as the Intramural Fest within the college, and an inter-college theatre fest called Upstage, with colleges participating across the state. In addition to this, we organize several workshops to hone your skills in various arts, as well as invite several dignitaries to impart their knowledge. We really, really look forward to seeing you at our events. Now, holding it over to Fatima.
Hi guys, once again a very warm welcome. My name is Fatima. I'm from 3rd EJP and I'm the convener of the Performing Arts Society. In addition to what Sarang said, I will be briefing you about the events that will take place over Mixer Week. So we have mime time, which will be a mime performance followed by a discussion, and first person, which will feature monologues, and this will happen on Wednesday, 26th at 5 p.m. 5:15 p.m. I'm sorry. We on Thursday we will have Voice So Serious, which will have voiceover performances, and this will take place on 27th Thursday at 5:15 p.m. Bye. See you there. Thank you.
Thank you. And up next will be our Linguistic Society. I request Shireen and Dipanita to share a few words.
Shireen, I can't hear you.
Dipanita, can you take over, please?
Um, Hi, so this is Dipanita. I'm the convener of Linguistic Society. At Linguistic Society, we share a platform for conversations around language translation. We also have a lot of talks and conversations planned over the course of this semester. I hope to see everyone attendees. You can follow us on our social media at ling_sock on Instagram. On August 31st, Monday, we have an event called Word Nick. It's a game with words. The prelims will happen at 5:15 p.m. So I hope to see you guys there. Yeah.
Shireen, are you here? Okay, Christine, go ahead with the next.
And now we have and I request Shavik and Kirtana to say a few words.
Hi everyone, I am Shavik from 3rd CPE and I am the convener of NOWS. So NOWS is an association for journalism, digital, humanities, and world cinema. At NOWS, we have an affinity for the unusual, which is very apparent in our discussions, ideas, and events. So you can definitely expect some cool things coming your way. Over to Keetana to tell you the awesome things we have in store.
Hi guys, I'm Kirtana from 3rd EGP. I'm the co-convener for NOWS this year. So for Mixer, we have a few events coming up next week. We're also trying to come up with new things that have not been done before or things that we can do online, but that we'll be announcing later. So for Mixer on Friday, that is 28th at 5:15, we'll be having our first listening post, our podcast. So Asta from 2nd EJP will be sharing our experiences with music and we'll be talking about the songs she really likes listening to. And on Saturday, again at 5:15, that is 29, we'll be releasing a short promotional video for our association, and it'll be followed by a nose cut session. So this time we are doing it only as a demonstration to show you guys how it works. For those of you who don't know, nose cut is an event where the participants will impersonate certain celebrities or politicians and will be answering the audience's question. So it'll be really fun and interactive. Please look out for that and do attend it. And we're really excited for this semester and for the events that are going to come up over the next few months. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have Kavya and Purvi. They'll be talking to us about the Literary Society.
Hi everyone. Once again, welcome to the inauguration of the English Department Associations. My name is Kavya and I'm from 30 GP. I'm the convener of the Literary Society. So what is Literary Society? So according to me, what I feel is the Literary Society is that one which transcends literature that we know it from its classical form and lets you explore it in 100 different ways, especially considering the fact we at Literary Society have events from illustrations all the way up to translations. So this one or the next 1 week that we have around 14, as everyone mentioned, we have 14 events in store for you, right from 25th all the way up to the 25th of August all the way up to the 1st of September. So I hope you guys have fun, take part, enjoy, learn, be a part of all the associations here at the English department, and join us for a really incredible year online, or maybe not year, a semester. So I'll hand it over to Purvi.
Purvi?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Thank you, Kavya. So, hello everyone. This is Purvi, co-convener of the Lit Society and from Third CPE. So, I would like to extend a warm welcome to everyone, especially the first years, because I know it gets scary and overwhelming with all the events, everything happening. And I was also this kid who was always scared, always in the corners and not coming for most of the events. But then one day, Arul sir just picked me for this emceeing at Metanim, and I was forced to do that, but I wanted to run away at the same time, but I did it. And since then, I've been attending so many events, having so much fun, learning so many things that I'll be always grateful for. And that's why, and on the same journey, I took up these goodie responsibilities like making scoreboards, making posters, and I was also heading one of the events last year, and all such things are actually so much fun to do. So all I want to say to my first years, especially the first years, that please do come join these events and learn so many things. And also we are taking Metonym online this year, and from tomorrow we are starting the mixer week, so stay tuned for more updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Kavya and Purvi. Now we have Professor Vijita who will be introducing reading room to us. Ma'am.
Hi. So I'll just tell you a little bit about the reading room. So I think it was the year 2016 or 15. I don't really remember when. I just discovered T.S. Eliot's poem, The Wasteland. I'm sure you've heard of it. We did it in college, but I don't really remember much about it because I wasn't really paying attention in college. But then suddenly, that day in 2016, I understood the meaning of wasteland because I looked back and I realized that my whole adolescent life and my student life was a wasteland because I did nothing, I learned nothing. I went to a college whose name rhymes with the word Maine. It is on a road whose name rhymes with MC. And I didn't really do much in the college except accumulate friendships that I don't really have anymore. So this was the time when I discovered reading, and this was also the time when I began to learn more about Baba Sahib Ambedkar. One year on 14th April, Professor Alvani put up a post for Ambedkar Jayanti on his Facebook wall. It was about how he discovered Ambedkar and what made him pick up the book and why the idea of a student walking into a library and committing to a time of reading was much more promising than the bells of an ice cream truck that you listen to on the road. Not nowadays, obviously. So that image somehow struck with me. It remained with me for a long time after. And I sort of pursued Ambedkar with a hunger that I've never had for anything. It taught me a lot about what it means to remain independent. It taught me a lot about what it means to uh, become close to the person you always thought you'll be. I don't know who that is, but I think every time I write or read, however little that is, I feel I'm getting closer to Ambedkar's ideal. So the reading room was instilled that year. I went to Arulsa and I told him that I wanted to form this group, and he said, "All right." And then we got the permissions and we began. That was also the time when I was obsessed with Garcia Marquez, and I inflicted him on all my students with his stories. So I remember the first book that we read for reading room was Chronicle of a Death Foretold. And since then, we met every once in a month to discuss books and short stories. Unfortunately, we haven't been that punctual or that committed to the reading room over the last year because lots of other things happened and I wasn't really reading that much. But this year, since we are doing it online anyway, I thought we could return to it and return to it maybe in a much more committed way. So I bring to you the reading room. This is a discussion forum for students who like reading and want to see what the world of books can promise. I have been reading a little bit now, and I'm very excited about the books and the short stories I want to share with all of you. Our first program as part of the reading room will be our new professor Drishti Rakda, who is going to be who will talk about reading women reading. It's a session that will happen on Wednesday. You can stay tuned here for more updates. So I just hope we do something this year, and I hope we don't scare people away. I must tell you that we are not all that committed and disciplined. We are just as lazy and probably much more lazier than you will ever be. So there will be times when the meetings will take forever, and there will be times when we'll say we'll meet on Friday, but we'll actually meet on Saturday. But I promise you this, that every time a line does something to me in my stomach, I promise I will share with you that line. I think this is the only way in which I can infect, and this is the only way we can spread the joy of reading. So thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I request Shifali ma'am to introduce us to the writing desk.
Hi, everyone. So, the writing desk, the name, Pranav started the name. He's the student convener. And it's actually a reference to Alice in Wonderland, Why is a Raven Like a Writing Desk? And I was so thrilled when he suggested this that I sort of jumped up and down. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about writing and what writing is. I think writing is magic. I believe that within each of us there are stories, and that some of these stories live in our mouths, and some of these stories live in our hearts, but all these stories live in our fingers. So I believe that these stories want to live. They want a life apart from us. And so for that, they have to drip from our fingers like ink onto paper, right? And this is difficult. This can be very difficult. The writer I love, her name's Liba Hugo. She says that it's easy to fall in love with an idea. It's difficult to stay in love. And I think that's true for writing as well. I fell in love with writing very easily. It was a sunny Sunday morning and I was very young. But staying in love has been a challenge, right? And I think one way to do that is to find other people who share this love, who are also working with it, who have problems with it, who want to do more with it, right? So at the writing desk, we're gonna bring our writing, we're gonna share what we've written, we're going to talk about what we've written, we're going to talk about the difficulties we face when writing. We will have a session on Thursday, which I will be talking with an old student, Ajita Raghu. I really hope you join this. If you do, then this is my wish for you. Not that you find writing easier, but that you fall in love with it over and over again. That when things become difficult or when things are going really well, you stay in love with writing, you share what you've written, and you create magic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now with us, we have one of the oldest members of our department. He's celebrating his 37th year of teaching, Professor Etienne Rasendran. He is now here with us to share his first year of teaching experiences. I request Vijay to assist, sir.
Thank you, Christine. And thanks to the department, and thank you, Etienne, sir, for accepting a request to be in a conversation with me. I'm not sure if you're happy about it, but
No, I'm very glad to be here. Yeah.
The year 1983 is remembered for two things. One, the year when India won the World Cup, and the other one is when Etienne sir joined the English department of St. Joseph's. Etienne sir and I aren't really great friends, but it took us 2 years to recall by each other's name properly. I took 2 years to pronounce his name properly, and took him 2 years to call me by my own name and not as Vincent or Vikas. So please don't be offended if he calls you by another name. I think one of the most important moments for me, and also for anyone who has learned under him, is the moment in the classroom where, in his presence that commands attention, and in his baritone voice, he uttered the words, "All is political." I'm sorry, that was a terrible mimicry of him, but those three words are something that we all have to ponder on. Sorry, sir. Anyway, I think I'll shut up now and we can start having a conversation.
You can say whatever. Yeah. Hey, I'm very
Until,
glad to be here. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
can we start, sir?
Yes.
Yes. So until 1983, that is for a good 2 decades at least, you were a student on the other side of the classroom. How hard was the transformation, the transition from that end of the classroom to the other side, being a teacher? And was there any moment, maybe in retrospect, that you felt like that change was already happening to you?
Right. Okay. First and foremost, thank you for having me, and thank you for getting me to reminiscence on those wonderful years. The beginnings are always extremely enticing and exciting and fascinating. Sometimes, perhaps, really and truly struggling and crisis-ridden. But those were very, very significant years for me in every sense of the term. That's a very important question to understand. The transition that one makes from being a student to being a teacher. And I think that transition is always a rather a difficult transition. Not in a very in a worrying alone kind of way, but in a way that makes you want to become something. For some strange reason, you want to become a teacher. I would have been I would learn many years later that it would have been nicer to have remained a student, and entering that world would have been that much easier if you didn't want to become a student. That took me a good 5 to 6 years to shed that desire to becoming a teacher, and continue to be this crazy 22-year-old who came from nowhere. The land to which he belonged was even not probably known by many people. Small little town called Pondicherry, somewhere far in the back of the beyond of Tamil Nadu area. Pondicherryans will get very upset if I called it Tamil Nadu. Right. So I think the best example of this transition is what happened in my first class. That would be the best way to understand this. And I'll tell you a little bit about the surrounding details after that first class. The first class I entered was with the professor whose place I was taking. A very eminent, very popular professor at that time, one Professor Ramappa. That was the guy I was supposed to replace. It was still a leave vacancy. Ramappa had gone out on what they at that time called commuted leave. There is still that, but they computed leave. That's a few months before you retire, kind of thing. And so the obvious possibility was that I will get in after he retires. Many things happened after that, which we will talk about a while later. The first class I entered was a Shakespeare class. It was a second year PCM class. It was a general English class, and there I was. He had come in, and the register was within, so he held on to the register and he came in. He took attendance and he mentioned my name in the usual set of errors that it is accompanied by. That caused all the laughter possible under the sun, and he just left. You take over, he said, and went away. Right, and there I was left with a bunch of young people, perhaps not older than I was. I mean, or younger than I was. I mean, there are two people who are older than I was. In at that time, in that particular class, and there I was stuck like that. And what was I supposed to do? I was to teach Shakespeare, and I went by what my professors in my college did, which was to begin with sources of Shakespeare. What does that mean? I thought the most exciting thing that you could be doing, you could be telling them all the stories that Shakespeare was hearing in the tavern, kicking a few jokes in there. But what? The entire class was about me. I was the joke of the event. And there was this young girl who would begin in a peal of laughter and end. And I would stop when she laughs. And suddenly she'll pick up, there'll be a peal of laughter. And then she will stop. and I will stop. And when she stops, I have to start again. And then in about 5 minutes, there'll be another peal of laughter. And she's always laughing at me, either because of what I'm saying or because someone next to her was saying something. This was trauma. Absolute riot was what you had in the first hour. People were laughing. They were saying all kinds of things. And, that was the experience that I think my attempting to be, a real teacher and all of that ended up being on that first day. Then I said, I must do something about this. And I must, So there was, of course, Cherian Alexander was already there, my good friend and my older colleague at that time. He was there already for 1.5 years. So we went to him. And there was that very fine and very affectionate lady, Professor Barbara Naidu. We love a great deal and we're greatly fond of all the time. All of us who have met her have always been fond of her. And much of what she shared with us was what made all the difference in our becoming teachers, right? But this was what I call the beginnings of this attempt that you have, at becoming a teacher. I think the better thing to do is this. I remember many years later, the Dean of Studies at the UTC, at the United Theological College, Dr. Satyanathan Clark, was to say to me, if you don't infiltrate, that's the term he used, if you don't infiltrate the ethos of students, the culture of the student, you will never be a teacher, he said. I think this was many, many years later, many years, maybe a good 15, 20 years later. And it just hit me that is really the real task at hand is for us to infiltrate the ethos of the student. I mean, that's really where it all begins. And that happened to me quite uncannily without, there was always this riot that I was afraid of. You enter a class, there will be riot. There will be people saying all kinds of things. There'll be lots of noise. The principal will be brought from his chambers. He will be standing, at the corner of the quadrangle. The B block was near the quadrangle on Residency Road. That's no longer there, interestingly. You were just flummoxed. It was just confusion. I mean, you didn't know where you. Uncannily, I referred to a writer whom I did not even exactly, was happy reading. I loved what he was doing, but I was not exactly it was very difficult for me to read him. Certain James Joyce, and two people in that class across 2 or 3 weeks after that, two people just perked up and said, James Joyce. And there was one young lady called Gomati Ramakrishnan, and there was a certain Nazaris Manoharan, whom you all are aware of as your theater professor today, right? It was in that class who perked up and said some interesting things. And then the class suddenly began to realize that, this guy knew something, So I think, this one thing which I realized, many years later. And another thing that Barbara mentioned to me many, many years, perhaps very soon in that time, many, many years ago again, was that you often went into a class thinking of teaching them, but students who are there want to learn. Their desire is not for you to teach. Their desire is for them to learn. So there's a big shift that one needed to make. That's why I said if we continued to be good students, even when we became teachers, at least if I had thought to remain a good student, even when I became a teacher, that probably would have helped me succeed a little more then. So the first 2 years, I would think, were very, very hard years. And this is symptomatic of what happened at that time. There are many things that happened on that particular year, which is quite interesting. When I recall now 37 years ago, it seems like, I was really a young man at that time. Oh no, I'm not. We want to be very honest about that. I'm not. At heart, I am forever young, but not young otherwise. Yeah. So, um, um, so 37 years ago, this happened. This was the first class, and it was a disaster. Disasters have ways of teaching you. They have ways of informing you about what needs to get done. And therefore, I think those two very important things that one that Barbara mentioned around the same time said they want to learn, you want to teach. That's where the conflict really is. Yeah. So you have to enable them to learn. I mean, you have to, what we now very, in a very cliched manner, speak about as facilitating learning, right? As opening out things and showing up what there is and so on, right? But at that time, it was very difficult for us to understand. I mean, that was my first year, and I had no degree in education. I had taught, interestingly, I had taught before I came there. I was taught at a tutorial back at my college, but back at my hometown, during my college years. But that was about making people pass the examination. It was a part of the literacy mission that I was associated with, and it was about getting people to pass the school final exam. People who were struggling with English. So I taught them that. And there was a syllabus, there was a lot of what we might call rote that was necessary, and you helped them deal with the rote and so on. That was not going to happen. That was not going to help in class. It was extraordinarily smart, extraordinarily mischievous, and deeply, deeply looking for learning. And as I said, it was James Joyce that won me the day. Someone I had struggled reading. Though I loved what he did, I had struggled reading him, and just by a sort of an uncanny, then we found a route to understand. Arvind Clark would later call infiltrate these thoughts of the student, right? So that is really the big jump that one needed to make, which was to just abandon becoming a teacher and trying and understanding your student maybe a better student than you were the previous time, right? And so I end up always saying to people that I think when you are a teacher, you are an eternal learner. You have to constantly be a student, and then you can attempt to be a teacher. Learning is the ultimate key in all of that.
Yes, sir. Thanks for that very insightful and for recalling the traumatic experience from your first class. Moving on, as you mentioned in your first answer, you said that you're from Puducherry, right? You pursued your bachelor's and master's from Puducherry, Puducherry Tagore College. So, since a lot of us are from various parts of the country, how is it experience for you to move from one place, your hometown, to a whole new state, a whole new city, and a place where you don't even know the language? How was it to build a whole new life here? Is there any audio issue, sir?
No. I wondered. Okay. Right. Right. Okay. This was a rather big shift for me personally. I do grant that. It was somewhat of a big shift because of the fact that this was a small town, in the very corner of Tamil Nadu. It didn't identify with Tamil Nadu so very heavily. Madras, as it was known at that time, and then later Chennai, was a horribly, important city for us, and it was like the big brother to Pondicherry. to say the least. And so it became that much more difficult to make that shift, right? Everybody knew everybody in Pondicherry. It was very comfortable. It was francophone, in its colonial sense, in its hybrid. It was French, not English at all. So you had all those rather interesting benefits that came from that as well, for people who belong to a particular class in society and so on. And so therefore, it was a very comfortable, convenient small town, right? Whereas Bangalore wasn't. Bangalore was, to begin with, was Karnataka. And I couldn't carry, I didn't know Kannada at that time when I came to join Joseph's. I barely, could manage a smattering of it. I still do not think I am very good at Kannada yet, but I can manage functional Kannada. But it's very difficult for me even now to manage, because the thing is, I began, as someone who spoke French as well, So we began, quite interestingly, being familiar with the two languages, both Tamil and French, and not necessarily English until we went to school. When we went to school, we went to English medium school. I mean, that was interesting. So there are three languages already that was part of what you should be working with. And then the fourth language, I don't think I was intelligent enough at that time to be able to learn a fourth language. It took me many years to get to a very, very functional kind of Kannada that I now use, full of errors and filled with English most of the time. It's not something I'm proud of. I think I should have learned the language much more, to be much more fluent, given the fact that I've been here 37 years. Now, I do not know whether I'm a Bangalorean or a Pondicherrian, to say the least, because I've spent longer in Karnataka and in Bangalore than I have in Pondicherry itself. And Pondicherry also has changed quite dramatically. So there were huge challenges. One of them was this. The other was the very culture, the very nature of people was very different here. And it meant that you have to be less and less assertive and so on. So in not so much in Pondicherry, but in Tamil Nadu in particular, we are taught to be assertive and all of that. But there, it's a different thing. It's much more a negotiating kind of culture. A much wider, more understanding sensibility was available. They make fun of you for not knowing Kannada, but that is all that will be. It won't be, difficult in every typical sense of the term, right? So I managed pretty well for the first few years without knowing a smattering of Kannada at all, until I learned how to do that. I actually lived in the hostel for a long time. It had its own interesting moments. I lived with a college hostel, the place where the college is situated now, that's how it was. That's how I began. It was a bit of a challenge, but it was also because I think Bangalore culture in particular at that time was very highly cosmopolitan. I stayed at a place where I could use Tamil and get away with it. I mean, I could be using Tamil. It was that cantonment area. A lot of people spoke Tamil or Telugu. And of course, Kannada definitely very popularly used there. But you could manage with, at that time. Perhaps not now. I don't know how things are now, because we live in we keep changing, right? We're not the same place. Another time is another place. So I think things change quite dramatically as we go along. For me, it was like a local boy making that shift to being an adult, living outside. I stayed in the hostel for 1.5 years, but living outside home, that was quite something. Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing your experience. I still managed to get away with Tamil with Auto, although they insult me for not learning Kannada. Anyway, owing to time constraints, this will be the last question for you. We hope to have another conversation with you soon.
Yeah, sure.
How are you spending time now? What is the road ahead?
Okay. It's a good question. What am I doing now? Well, I'm still continuing to teach. I have 2 months more to go before I retire. And I will complete that particular term. I'm trying to get very familiar with technology, which is somebody, in one of our earlier classes used to say, "Oh, Etienne sir, technology blank." And many jokes on me for the technology that I simply couldn't use. Now I'm getting used to Google Meets and YouTube streaming and what is that? Microsoft Teams and Zoom and all of that. I'm doing my best to try and understand how this functions. I'm not very, very good at that, but I've done my best, I suppose. That's one of the things I'm doing. I'm trying to get used to that. I'm also thinking that after I finish, I probably have about 2 more years of teaching. So I probably do some teaching yet, 2 or 3 more years of teaching. But I'd like to spend a lot more time. I initially thought if there was no COVID, I initially thought I'd go traveling a bit, seeing places which I had set aside over a long period of time. I want to write a little more than I have. I've written some, but I think I want to write a little more. Perhaps very differently from what I am used to writing, and continue in that particular field for a while. That's what I'm thinking. But more than anything else, with this particular new thing that has happened to us, things have gotten quite complex. So I don't know if I'll be able to travel for the next 1 year at least. I was thinking of going to Paris, which was the dream destination I had. Also because of the fact that my sister lives there. And so it would have been easier. But now it looks like only 2022 that might happen, right? Then I want to go and see Jerusalem and all that area is part of in our imagination and in real terms as we know it. So that is something that may not happen immediately. So I'm just waiting for this pandemic to cease, and after that to go forward from there. Yeah.
Well, I really hope you do get to go on your travels and write more. I'm looking forward to those. Thank you, sir, again for accepting our request and sharing your experiences of your first year. Hope to speak to you soon on larger issues. And also a warm welcome to my juniors. I hope you have a good time. I'm sure you will. And also make sure to get roasted by your professors and seniors. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, guys. Thank you to the department.
Thank you,
everyone
sir.
in the department. Every single person in the department, right from the chief conspirator, my besties, my old students who are teachers, and everyone in the department, and all my students. And thanks to Vijay for asking those interesting questions as well. Thank you very much.
It's my honor, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Vijay. Now I invite our former conveners, Angel and Priscilla, to hand over their roles to Kavya and Purvi.
I completely forgot.
So Before we hand over the owls, I have something to say regarding the whole scenario of bring your own owl. So, for those of you who are new, I'm pretty sure the first years don't know this, but the owl, or as Arul sir and Vijeta ma'am affectionately calls us Gubes, are the official mascot of the Literary Society. So it's been a tradition to pass on gourmet, that's the mascot's name, to from one convener to the other. So this time, since we can't do it in person and online, everyone's going to have their own version of the owl, whether it's painted, a stuffed toy, a cushion, or even a cupcake. So I invite our former conveners, Priscilla and Angel, to pass it on to the present conveners of the Associations of Literary Society. So guys, let's all hold up our owls and go ahead with tradition.
Yay!
That is visible.
I am the balding Gooby of the department.
Yeah. Well,
With this, we come to the end of the session. But before that, I like Vijeta ma'am's owl. That looks nice.
Very
Thank
nice.
you.
That is.
Yeah.
So before I mute myself, I'm going to talk about the Mixer Week, and I'm going to announce the events for tomorrow and day after, which is the 25th and 26th of August. So on 25th, we're having Freshers Quiz at 5:15 p.m. This will be held. The event would be run by the Quiz Club. And on 26th, we have two events happening. One is Mime Time in First Person by Performing Arts Society at 5:15, and the Reading Room on at 6:30, which will be held by the Literary Society, where we have Drishti ma'am talking about reading women and women's writing. So I hope you guys are all geared up and ready for a week full of activities with 14 events. We've got 14 events lined up for all of you. So take part, join in, and get associated with all of us and the association and the department. So let's have a great year ahead. Thank you. Now over to Christine.
Looks like we're at the end of the session. I thank all of you for taking your time off and joining us on our celebration. I hope to see you all in the Mixer Week. You'll surely have a great time. Be there with us. And I think that's it. This is Christine signing off along with the English department. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. On behalf of the Department of English, I'd like to thank all the office bearers for pulling it off online. Congratulations. And I'd also like to thank the former office bearers for joining us. It was very special. Special thanks to Etienne sir for making this happen. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for making this happen. See you all soon.